Welcome back. We're talking right now with Fred Simmons as a candidate for Haverhill City Council. Welcome to the program, Fred.
Thank you, Frank.
You know what? Can you tell us a little bit something about your history?
Well, I'm a lifelong resident of Haverhill, Massachusetts. I went to public schools in Haverhill, Mass. I went to a community college, took a few courses at Northern Essex Community College, and I've been on a couple of councils for Haverhill. I've been on the Downtown Development Committee for Haverhill. I've been on the Energy Task Force for Haverhill. And some of the great things that are coming out of Haverhill right now are being on those committees.
Well, you know, you've done an awful lot about tell us about your history and your contributions and being able to be a community contributor. Mm-hmm. That's excellent. If you can, having known something about your history, can you tell us something about your ideas on things that you'd like to put forth in the city of Haverhill? Okay. As a city councilor.
As a city council. As being in the Downtown Development Committee, since I've been running, I've seen that we're looking for we need a commercial dock. Some of the best things I think will promote the river is having that commercial dock so we could bring back maybe a paddle boat. I've talked to Mr. Slavitt, and he said that he would bring it back if we got a commercial dock. Maybe then we could probably even have like taxis coming up and down the river. We need to share with our sister cities like Newburyport, which is a vibrant city, and that's the city I want to make like our sister city. So we could go up and down the river and enjoy each other's shops, restaurants, and help promote the small businesses in our town, especially the downtown area.
You know, that's excellent. I will tell you that it's very interesting with the major development downtown Haverhill now with Harbor Place. And Ron Trombley, who's from the Haverhill Foundation, being able to ramrod that whole situation. They've got a very interesting program that coincides with the very thing you're talking about, being able to dredge the river and bringing it up so that Haverhill would wind up being the last stop, you know, along that way, and make it the waterway that you're talking about. So I want you to go ahead and I think all the residents would want you to go ahead and kind of continue along with that sort of thing. If you were to look back and if you follow what the city council has done with the votes that they've taken, is there any vote that you think you would have taken differently or would have modified, do you think?
Well, there's one particularly is the downtown parking. I believe once that is a done deal, I believe that the parking and set right now are the times right up until 3 o'clock are free, and those are the busiest times from the morning to the afternoon, late afternoon. And then after that, it will go to a parking meter, and that's what I would have voted for.
Okay, that's a comprehensive type of program that you happen to discuss and want to be able to put forward. If you see anything about, do you see anything relative to development in the city of Haverhill versus residential versus commercial development? And is that at all tied to what your view happens to be on tax classification, how impactful that may be on either or both?
Well, it's been in the past of my judgment, and I've seen some of the buildings rehabbed downtown, for instance, and they seem like they can't get the high values of real estate anymore. And some of the reasons is it's just not enough clientele to pay the high prices. So when they turn around, a lot of these people that will buy units, and they'll turn around and make them a Section 8. And sometimes the Section 8 is people are trying to get out of a struggle and make themselves better, but sometimes those people don't. There's good and bad in all of us, and unfortunately, they bring down the values of some of the residential part. On the commercial end of it is that promoting more businesses downtown. These people will have access to some of these businesses because it's walking distance. A lot of people don't have vehicles. They have the T transportation if they work out. And there should be a lot more businesses coming in the near future. Being on that Downtown Development Committee, both sides of the river are going to be developed. We're waiting right now for a lawsuit to be settled with the old paperboard. Once that's settled, that will be redeveloped. Haverhill's going to be able to share some of that land with it, with parking and access to the river there too. So those are just some of the new commercial things coming up.
It's very astute on your part to come to that conclusion relative to downtown redevelopment, especially for residential, and how if they can't get this profile of tenants that they're looking for, then sometimes they'll look for any type of tenant just to go ahead and fill the void, and that can have ramifications down the road relative to public safety and things of that type. So that's an interesting conclusion you've come to, and it's borne out by the statistics as well. Mr. Simmons, do you have a labor relations type of a background or anything
Yes,
of
I
that
do.
type?
I'm glad you brought that up. I've been actually in labor unions pretty much all my life. I started working in a leather factory tannery, which was AFL-CIO, and I worked there for 10 years at Hoyt and Worthen Tannery, which is down on Railroad Ave in Bradford. And then I worked a few years, actually, before I became a public servant, a public employee. And I've done 23 years as a custodian under the SEIU Union 888. And before we were SEIU 888, out of that 23 years, we were a Haverhill Custodians Association. And I believe that these are some of the labor things that I've done.
It gives you a lot of background and experience on that.
Yep, state house visits.
In line with that same sort of thing, I'd like to ask you this question. In the past year, I believe that the elected officials, as a body, decided to approve for themselves an increase in what their stipend or what their income happens to be that they derive from either the school committee or the city council. Can I ask, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not saying that the council doesn't deserve money that's equal to everyone else, but when other people in the system aren't being brought up to equal, I don't believe that they should be accepting raises at this time. I mean, for instance, it's settled, but we would ask for a 0, 1, and 1 3/4%, where teachers are getting 5 3/4%. I love all the teachers. I'm glad they had a proactive, and we were told that they had no money for us. Some of the things like this, when you want counselors to accept more money or a school committee to accept more money, they got to look at all the picture. And again, I stand up for working people and people that have families that live in this town.
When you talk about the rank and file, the people that are on the front lines every day dealing with the public and doing their job, I will tell you from my experience in being able to talk with many people in and around the city, when raises happened to be given during the course of the past year to department heads, but the rank and file that happened to be under them were not given any type of a raise at all, didn't digest very well, apparently. And the fact is that if the department is doing well and the department is compensated, I can see that. But the only reason that the department is doing well is because the rank and file that's working with the public directly on the front lines are doing their job in a superior manner. Or what do you think?
I absolutely agree on that, and especially with our teachers. Our teachers in actually Haverhill are probably the best equipped teachers. They could be better supplied, but they do a great job with our faculty. And you have people, administrators on the top that are getting, I believe, 17 to 19% raises on some instances. And we're only getting, for the teachers, like 5%, and myself, like 1 and 1 3/4.
And that's spread out over a period of time,
Right.
correct?
It's a driving force for us actually to get out there and promote working families, because it seems unfair that the people on the top always get their share first.
Fred Simmons, it's been a pleasure being able to have you here today. We wish you the best of luck in your upcoming election for City Council.
Thank you very much.